Hi, honey. You're my biggest fan. Do you not see my wife is in this chat? Uh, it, Second place is the only thing that's up for grabs at this point. Third biggest fan. I don't know, Haya. I don't know. There's potential there, I guess. Why does the reindeer have a gun? I think it's a moose, actually, and he fell over. His antlers are kind of locked up there. He's got it's a little pop gun. I don't know if you're aware of this, but my IGN is pop gun, so there's some symbolism there. It kind of makes sense. Move him over a little bit. It's not a reindeer, it's a moose. You get it? Yeah. Uh, on the planet that I come from, the word pop gun means strength and honor. So that's where the word pop gun came from. Thank you. Thank you, Haya. Hiya. You might want to go back and check your sources on that one, buddy. Who are you gonna believe? Google or me? Come on. Come on now. The answer should be obvious. Google? Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I did some thinking on that. Turns out I'm not into dragon armed women. I could be wrong about this. But after considering it, I don't think I'm into dragon arms on women. But I'll admit I haven't fully thought out that. Oh well. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the final Popcast of 2020. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or a VOD, Twitch or YouTube, while you are hoping your secret crush will finally respond to one of your 100 leave an emote if you have a crush on me tweets, regretting eating all of your holiday candy on Christmas Day, trying to decide which one of these midpoint draft cup team names is more offensive: two and a half minorities or orphan obliterators, whatever it is that you're doing right now. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this, unless I don't. And welcome to the end of 2020, or 3 days till the end of 2020, I guess, is look at it. Such a bullcrap year, and I think everyone is excited that it is almost over. The year started off with me at Genesis 7 in Oakland, California, subbing for the West Broadway Grillers, which was a really cool event, and it's weird to think back on Genesis 7 now. It feels like it was yesterday because the memories are all still there. The reason the memories are all still there is because it's one of the few times I actually left my house this year that wasn't to go to work or to wear a mask or whatever. In fact, other than my brother's wedding, I think that was the only legit time that I was excited to leave my house this year. But it also feels like it was really far away. Some interesting things as I think back on Genesis. First off, a lot of people were wearing masks at Genesis. Not a lot as far as like it was like everybody, but enough people were wearing masks at Genesis to make you think, oh, what? That's odd that people are wearing masks. They weren't wearing it because of COVID. They were wearing it because there's like a land flu is a common thing that people will come back sick, which makes sense. You bring in like 1,000+ people into a room over the course of a weekend from all over the planet. Of course, they're going to share some diseases with each other. But I just remember seeing people wearing masks, and just thinking like, well, that's such a weird concept, wearing a mask in public when you're not sick to prevent diseases. That I don't see myself ever wearing a mask at a LAN. Um, but my, how things changed. Another interesting thing that happened at Genesis, well, not interesting, kind of suck, is Sunday, uh, when Splatoon was over, but Championship Sunday for Smash, Kobe died. Kobe Bryant died in a helicopter accident, and that should have been like the precursor for everything that was to come for this year. But I remember I was sitting in a lobby, pairing with a friend, and I overheard some people talking about it. And one guy was like, "Did you hear about Kobe Bryant dying?" And the other guy, who was clearly from Genesis, said, "Is that the guy from the Space Jam movie?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's gonna be the dumbest thing I hear all year." I was wrong about that. Yeah, and what sucks really the most about Genesis is during Genesis it was announced that Riptide was going to happen. And in Riptide was going to replace Smash and Splash. It was going to be in Ohio, very close to me, very close to a lot of my Splatoon friends that I have, in the Midwest. So it was an exciting big land that we were all already gearing up for the second that it was announced. Uh, on top of, there was a Heartland land in Michigan. There was a land in New York, Beacon, that I was planning on going to. Uh, I feel like there was one more that I already signed up for as well, but ultimately, uh, all of that got canceled. We all got stuck playing online, for, I guess, for the all of eternity now. But there you go. That's not something related to what I'm going to talk about. But it's just weird when I think back this year. I think back to Genesis and just how much of a different world we were living in at the beginning of this year, and how innocent and unaware of all the things that were going to follow. Like if I had known Genesis 7 was going to be it, like for 2020, that was going to be it, I probably would have appreciated it more than what I did. Not that I didn't appreciate it, but now if I were to go, if there was going to be a Genesis 8, which there's not going to be this 2021, but if the next land that I go to, I'm definitely going to soak up the experience way more than what I ever would, and I'm probably going to be wearing a mask, uh, as all you are going to be doing as well. But hey, let's stop talking about sad stuff. Well, I'm sure we're going to talk about more sad stuff over the course of this episode, but we are going to recap lower level competitive Splatoon in the year of 2020. Afterwards, we're going to be handing out awards for the things, for the categories that I mentioned on Twitter, and you people nominated a lot of teams and players for, NTO. So we're gonna give some recognition to some people, for that. But first, let's give a, what is it? What is it in the Oscars when like somebody's dead? And they memoriam or something like that. Let's do a little something like that for the teams that are no longer with us. First off, Bread Gang. This is a team I failed to give a shout out to when they disbanded, last month. Bread Gang was actually the first team I ever interviewed on the Popcast, back in like episode 3 or something like that, which is something I need to get back to doing. I need to get back to just doing team interviews, talking to you guys, bringing you on the podcast. I did have some people reach out. I just never had time to find a way to bring them on. But Bread Gang, sad to see you guys go, but resilience seems to be, the dough that rised from the ashes of Bread Gang. Revitalize. A crowd favorite for sure. We'll talk more about Revitalize stuff when we get to the awards section. Spoiler warning, but Revitalize, a team that captured the hearts of millions. A low ink favorite, a team that has made more low inks than anybody in low ink history. Made more alpha bracket / top cuts than anybody in low ink history. Now, Persistence is going to do their best to take that spot. But Revitalize, so close, never quite made it, but that doesn't mean we think less of them. Rip Revitalize. Splatter Swim, no. Splatter Swim, no. It's so sad. They disbanded last week, I think. Actually, I think they disbanded during last week's episode of the podcast. I just didn't see it. So sad to see them go. They were a fantastic team. I'll be talking more about them later. I don't think we've seen what is going to come of Splatter Swim disbanding, what new team is going to form, where those players are going to go. I think Omega left before they disbanded. I think he's on crack or something like that. Crack, Krak, not the drug crack. Please don't cancel me, Twitter. Ravenous Raccoons, no! I'll miss the Ravenous Raccoons. They came back as the Rolling Raccoons in one beta bracket in dominant fashion last month. But sources close to me say that a raccoon revival might not be in the works, which is sad. It was a fun team. They were building up history. They were making rivalries, and now we're just gonna have to see what becomes of the Raccoons. Last but certainly not least, Eurobeats. Oh, bon voyage, Eurobeats. We miss you dearly. However, thank you for Haya. We'll happily take him. Sorry. But obviously, Eurobeats a team that a lot of people enjoyed. Myself included. I talked about them a lot on the Popcast because they seem to be doing a lot of things that were noteworthy and deserved attention. But obviously they are no more, other than Haya joining Destiny Troops. We also saw Rob join Royal Court, I believe is their name. So those players have moved on to other teams as well. I'm sure there's a gazillion and a half other teams that have disbanded that probably deserve some attention here. But I can't keep track of every single one of you guys. So those are the ones that I'm going to highlight. And if you are an important team that I didn't mention that disbanded, guess what? Obviously, I don't care. Just get over it. Jeez. Recapping 2020. Let's look at the first low ink of the year. The January low ink, which oddly enough was played on February 1st. Okay. 52 teams signed up for this tournament. I think I found every team that played in the first low ink of the year and the last low ink, so the January and December one. It would be the Splatarians, Geek Squids, Nova, Tyrant Inc., Surf and Turf, and Shrimp Chips. I might have missed somebody, but I'm pretty sure I got that right. Now, that's not to say that players didn't play in January and December on different teams or pickups or something like that. But actual legit teams that made it from the first low ink to the last one is those 6 or 7 teams that I listed right there. So shout outs to you guys. Or I guess shout outs, maybe it's more sad to think that you're still eligible for low ink, but you guys are getting there, knocking on the door, especially Geek Squids, Nova, and Tyrant Inc. Surf and Turf improved a lot over the course of the year as well. The winner of this low ink was Karakuri Splatoon, KARAKURI _ Splatoon. I have no idea who these guys were. No, I looked at the roster and I saw Storm, and I didn't know if that was the same Storm that is now on Avalanche or not. But none of the other names jumped out to me at all, so I had no clue uh, who that team was. They beat XD. If you remember, XD was a team that made top 8 in SAC, the only SAC season that we had in 2020. So they obviously beat a really good team in grand finals. Beat them 4-0. And this was back when Low Ink was top 8. So think about this January Low Ink shows how much Low Ink as a whole has grown. 52 teams signed up. Now it's surprising if Low Ink doesn't get 100. So literally double the amount of teams play in Low Ink than what we've seen in the past. And keep in mind, like I said, only 7 teams played in January and December. So we've had 100 plus new teams play in the December tournament that didn't even participate in the January Low Ink tournament. That alone shows you how crazy this year was for the lower level and how much growth was in the lower level this year. Obviously, this was when Low Ink was just a one-day thing. There was one time where there was a 7-round Swiss Low Ink and then a top 16 top cut. I believe that was the last time. I want to say that was May. And that was the last time that Low Ink was on one day. After that, I think everyone started to realize we should probably span this out so that we don't make Europe playing grand finals at 2 in the morning local time, possibly even later. So there you go. There's your first Low Ink screenshot and how things have progressed since then. What about these other tournaments that we had this year? Ash Cup 2. I thought Ash Cup actually started in 2020, but no, the first Ash Cup was in 2019. A grand total but Ash Cup 2 was on February 23rd. A massive amount of teams played in this one. 6. Collapsia beat Revitalize 3-2. And I believe it was just a double limb, maybe just a single limb. I don't know. It's just, we're just happy to have 6 teams shine up. There's no way I would ever talk about Ash Cup if it was getting 6 teams consistently over the course of the year. So Ash Cup 2 in February, 6 teams. Ash Cup 6 in November had 30 teams. It is now a group tournament that plays into a top cut and has improved vastly from where they were at the beginning of the year. Ash Cup is a fantastic tournament and a welcomed addition to the lower level rotation of tournaments. I say that because it's the same skill level as Low Ink most of the time, but it's completely different. While everything is copying the formula of Low Ink of doing Swiss into top cut, which I think is the best way to do a lower level tournament. It can be kind of frustrating to see that kind of repetitiveness in every tournament that you play in. Ash Cup breaks the mold. They used to be a double limb tournament where they did seeding. I believe they did that from their first tournament up till the third one. But tournament 4, 5, and 6, they switched to groups, which is a new format that you don't really see played out in the lower level too often. So while I don't think they're the best format compared to Swiss for teams that are trying to grow and looking for other teams to build with, I feel like it's a fresh change of pace, and Ash Cups is a nice alternative to Low Ink. And the fact that they've grown as much as they have is a good thing for all of us, because we need more. We need another like monster to go alongside Low Ink, and I think Ash Cup, being the bi-monthly tournament that they are, might be able to do that in 2021. Another good thing Ash Cup kind of showed us is that as we're getting more and more tournaments, it's more difficult to find time in a month to fit all of them in, since everybody wants to do something at Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Ash Cup was the first tournament to show us that you can do a tournament on a Sunday and be successful. The Ash Cup 6 that got 30 teams, the biggest Ash Cup ever, was on a Sunday. And that paved the way. Since then, Launch Point did a tournament on a Sunday. Little Squid League is going to be doing a tournament this upcoming Sunday. So as 2021 starts to creep its head around the corner, and we look at the calendar and seeing when tournaments are going to be played on, we're going to see more and more and more tournaments played on Sundays. And that is a credit to what Ash Cup did, being the pioneers for that. Speaking of Little Squid League, oh boy, May 1st was the first Little Squid League tournament. A grand total of 10 teams signed up for this one. The team that won this tournament is called Parias is Bad at Seeding. I don't know if Parias was on that team or not, or if that was I don't know what the context behind that is. But that team won. Now, has Little Squid League grown since their first tournament? Yes. In a weird, well, not a weird, but in a different path that other tournaments have grown. Little Squid League 1 was geared at Div 5 and below. Now it's kind of rebranded itself. A lot of teams got kicked out of Little Squid League. Some threw hissy fits about it. Others were like, okay, cool, this is a good thing. We shouldn't want to be eligible for Little Squid League. But it is now, I don't know, like mid-alpha bracket of low Inc. on down. So it's truly the lowest, lower level tournament that we have in the community right now. Little Squid League did 8 tournaments. They struggled to find a consistent time slot for a lot of these things. There was a lot of times where Little Squid League would announce a tournament and then something would pop up. Inkstorm 8, Low Ink, Minnow Cup, I believe, caused them to move. Or maybe that was Ash Cup that Minnow Cup moved. I think Launch Point might have bumped them out, or Checkpoint or something like that. So Little Squid League, I think they moved their tournament 4 times this year after announcing a date. So there was a bit of a lack of consistency, but despite all of that and all the struggles, Little Squid League still exists. The 9th tournament is going to be this Sunday, and we're all excited to see how much they progress and grow. I'm surprised more teams haven't been signing up for this tournament, especially all the teams that don't make alpha bracket usually in low ink. This is a really good tournament for them. But if Little Squid League were to take off and grow and kind of rebuild the numbers that they used to have back when they allowed in more higher level teams, then all of us kind of win, because that could be the future of competitive Splatoon growing from Little Squid League. The Xanadu Tournament Series. Did some of you guys forget about this one? This was a new tournament series that ran every now and then. There were 4 tournaments. It got more teams that signed up for it over the course of the year as more Xanadu Tournament Series tournaments happened. It is not going to be coming back, at least in the sense that we're used to seeing it. If it is coming back, it's going to be more of a mid-level tournament than a lower level one, which is great. We need more stuff like that. I will point out one thing though from the Xanadu Tournament Series, that I almost put this on the Match of the Year section, but then I realized nobody saw it, or nobody was aware or know who the teams are. But 2 teams played in the first Xanadu Tournament Series Grand Finals. One was Thou Sheep, and I forget what the other team name was, but both of them were pickups. Thou Sheep was basically a Xanadu pickup, and I forget who the other one is. But it came down to a Game 7, Clam Blitz at Piranha Pit. And 5 minutes went through that game with neither team scoring. So and I remember this because I was commentating it. And I probably really sucked then. Probably not as super good right now, but I'm at least more aware of how not to suck so badly. But think about that. Imagine a low ink that came down to a Game 7. It was Clam Blitz, and it goes into overtime without anybody scoring. and the whole tournament comes down to who can just pop the basket first, and it's over. That is so crazy to think about. It happened in a tournament not many people saw, but if this was on a bigger stage, this would be all over Twitter. This type of game that we saw there, and Xanadu provided it for us. So it's definitely something worth mentioning for this year. Lastly, Minnow Cup, a new tournament, only happened once in 2020, but is already coming back this upcoming Saturday. Minnow Cup, what's interesting to note about Minnow Cup is that in the one tournament it did, which was tower control only, got 53 teams to register for it. The second biggest tournament, or actually the biggest lower level tournament that wasn't low ink, was this one Minnow Cup. So that's exciting to see. Maybe Minnow Cup will rise up and be the new monthly counterpart to low ink. It didn't happen in December. December was extremely packed, so they got pushed down to January, the second low Minnow Cup, which is going to be Clam Blitz this time around. So there you go. All of these, and that doesn't even include the Launch Point server, which popped up, Checkpoint 1. I peeked into the Checkpoint 1 server last night. It's just to see how many people are actually in that server. It's well over 1,000. I don't know how to search like actual numbers in the servers, but the members in it is well over 1,000. You guys want to know what the future of competitive Splatoon is going to be like? It's going to come from Checkpoint 1. A lot of the mods of that server are all well-known, established people in the community. So a bright future is on the horizon, and the next level of teams that are going to be coming up from low ink are going to be coming from Checkpoint 1. Hopefully they stop off in Little Squid League first and get their feet wet. But definitely shout-outs to Launch Point 1 as well. I've often ranted, especially last week, I ranted a little bit about these pickup vote-in servers. Launchpoint does it different. They're an application-based server, which I think for lower level is the right way to go. I feel like the vote-in system is fine for like +0 and 2 and 1 and all that stuff. But I feel like if you had a vote-in system for lower level, that would just be devastating for a lot of people. You take the bias out of it when you just have a group that looks at players' resumes and says, yes, you can come in, or no, you can't, or here's what you need to do to get in, or show us to get in. So credits to Launchpoint for doing that and taking initiative of creating those things. So there you go. At the beginning of this year, we had a low ink in January, that was in February, and we had SAC. That was it. At the end of this year, welcome Ash Cup, welcome Little Squid League, welcome Minnow Cup, welcome the Xanadu Tournament Series, welcome Checkpoint 1, welcome Launch Point. Wow. We've really grown. We have really grown in this 1 year. And that makes you excited for what's going to be happening in 2021. Well, I'm going to tell you. Excuse me. And I do have some concerns for where we go from here. But first off, look at just January alone. I kind of mentioned this. The first weekend of January, which is this upcoming weekend, believe it or not. Saturday is the Minnow Cup. Sunday is Little Squid League. The weekend after that, SAC is coming back. And that is going to be their season opening tournament is going to be a two-day tournament. So another Saturday and Sunday. At some point, low ink is going to happen. I probably have insider information of when this actually, like the actual date for the next low ink, but this isn't the place to make that announcement. So, but one weekend, that's going to be low ink, obviously. Ash Cup. might come back. They've billed themselves as a bi-monthly tournament. They last ran in November, so logic would tell you that we would have an Ash Cup this month. Checkpoint 1, I believe they are bi-monthly as well when they do theirs. Again, theirs was in November, so logic would tell you we're going to have a Checkpoint 1 tournament this month. And we still have to find time to get another SAC tournament in, so there will be 2 SAC tournaments this month. So think about it like this. For January, there are 10 weekend days, 10 Saturdays and Sundays. If all of these events happen, we will have a lower level tournament on 9 out of the 10 Saturday and Sundays in January. Holy crap. That's a lot. And if you think that January is just an anomaly, it's going to get even more packed because we still have one more thing creeping its head around the corner. You remember when Ludi tweeted out, soon. Whatever that means. They didn't announce that their tournament was coming back. It could have just been like, soon we're going to have a giant bake sale that you can participate in for all we know. But if we're thinking logically, you got to think, okay, Ludi is coming back this year. Now, when are they coming back? They can't come back in January. That's too soon. Low Ink wants to do, or Ludi usually wants to do that, like a seeding tournament before they actually come back. So you got to think February at the earliest, possibly March. But when Ludi comes back, oh my goodness, here's what's going to be going on. So all those tournaments I just mentioned, plus having to find time to get Ludi sets in the middle of the week is just gonna it's gonna be pretty crazy. The first quarter of the year, at least for not just for lower level, but for the competitive scene as a whole, is going to be packed, very packed. Now, when Ludi does come back, it's going to create a huge effect on the lower level community just because divs are finally going to be updated. Now, if you've been listening to a lot of episodes of the Popcast, which I know you do, one thing I constantly rant against is our over-reliance on Ludi divs. However, no matter how much I beg and plead for us to quit using it as a ranking system for the whole community and see it for what it actually is, which is this seeding for the Ludi tournament, we are still going to take those divs and use them as a ranking system for everything that we do. A lot of people, and somebody asked this in chat last month, and I didn't see it until later. Somebody asked me if I felt like the upper end of teams that play in low ink are too good for low ink and should be kicked out. Well, when Ludi comes back, that's exactly what we're going to see happen. A lot of low ink teams beat their chest on Twitter saying that they are a Div 3 team. Some of them claim they're a Div 2 team. I don't know how that works. But when Ludi divs come out, we're going to find out who is for real Div 3 and who isn't. And I would be willing to wager that some of the teams we see make consistent alpha brackets will find a way to sneak into Div 3 and will officially get kicked out. That will change things a lot for low ink. Not because less teams will participate, but the usual favorites that we have. Like, my top 10 list is going to be completely different once a lot of these teams get kicked out of low ink by Ludi. Same thing for SAC. SAC is going to be kind of weird. Here's what's weird about SAC. Usually they have Ludi to rely on to determine who's Div 3 and who's not. SAC basically needs to decide for themselves this season who is Div 3 and who isn't. So it's going to be interesting to see if SAC will ban somebody or ban a team and say, we think you're too good for SAC. But then Ludi comes back and says, no, actually they're a Div 3 team. They're going to be officially a Div 3 team. So that would be really, that would be kind of weird. So like, we've started to get away from using Ludi divs, right? Like low ink has kind of, like low ink used the first or the most recent season as like a starting point. Like, here's all the teams that we're going to let in. But a lot of new teams have popped up and a lot of new players have popped up. So it's like, okay, at what point do we decide that these players and teams are too good for low ink? I made this comparison before. The speed limit right now is 70 miles per hour, or kilometers if you're Europe and you use actual units of measurement. I think right now a lot of teams are going 75 miles per hour. Like, they're just barely over the speed limit. Now, do you pull over somebody on the interstate for going 5 miles over? No, you don't. Especially if everybody else is doing it too. So, like, nobody's technically, like, well, I mean, like, everybody's technically over the limit, but there's no, you just kind of let them go. Now, if somebody goes 80, at that point you're like, okay, you need to go. You're going a little too fast. This isn't this your speed is beyond everybody else's. You need to go. But what happens if the speed limit gets lowered from 70 to 65? Then all of a sudden, all the teams that have been going 75 this whole time, okay, now they're 10 miles over and they'll need to leave. So I think that's what we're going to see. When Ludi Divs come out, all these teams that have been like sneakily over the limit will finally get the boot. And I'm not, yes, I work for IPL. I'm not saying this on behalf of IPL. This is just my initial thoughts of what I think is going to happen for low ink. And I think that would be a good thing. Not that I'm against all the teams that are playing in low ink that are really strong. But I just feel like when Ludi comes back, that every tournament in lower level is just gonna get the restart button hit on them. Now, there's two concerns I have for this year. One is SAC and Ludi. Now, as Ludi, SAC and Ludi are fine. I love SAC. My team is excited to participate in it. We love playing in Ludi as well. I know Ludi is a team killer, but let's be honest. If your team can't survive Ludi, you never really had a team to begin with. Let's be real. My problem is what happens when these tournaments leave. So, when SAC and Ludi come in, it's kind of like, it's not like the circus coming to town. It's more like the Olympics coming to town. When the Olympics come in, we have to stop what we're doing, right? Like we'll still find ways to run like Little Squid League and Ash Cup and things like that, but they're going to have to take a back seat. They're going to have to move to Sundays. They're going to have to give Saturdays into control of SAC and understand that a lot of teams aren't going to be available for Ludi, because if you during Ludi, if you have a team that's on the other side of the pond than what you are, you typically have to play that on a Saturday or Sunday, which kind of knocks you out of a tournament. But those SAC and Ludi are like the Olympics, which is fine. Everybody loves the Olympics. However, the Olympics are notorious for not being a good thing to host in your city. Rio de Janeiro, I believe, hosted the last Summer Olympics. And it's cool. It's really nice. They build all of these facilities and venues that are designed specifically for unique sports. The problem is, once the Olympics are done and everybody goes home and leaves, you're just kind of stuck with all of this crap that you'll never use again. Like these giant venues they build just for like sand volleyball. Like, they're never going to have that big of a sand volleyball competition in Rio de Janeiro again. Or like, it's probably even more ridiculous for the winter sports when you got like all these giant like I think there's some video or pictures on Reddit of like abandoned Winter Olympic venues from other cities, because you just make like these unique things, and it doesn't really have that big of a financial impact on your city that you think it does. So it's like, yeah, while the Olympics is cool while it's here, what happens after it leaves? SAC and Ludi, really fantastic. I love them. What is going to be left when these guys leave, though? Is Little Squid League still going to be around? Is Ash Cup still going to be around? These tournaments that we need year round instead of just during set seasons when they come back, are they going to get pushed out of the way to make room for the Olympics that we have going on? That's my concern. I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be adaptable. They're going to have to be because SAC is the big dog at the table, and rightfully so. They've earned that spot at the table. But my hope is that we can still find ways to keep all of these other tournaments going during that. So when they leave and we still need Minnow Cup and Little Squid League and Ash Cup to keep functioning, that there's still enough of a fan base and foundation for those tournaments to keep thriving over the course of the entire year, not just at the beginning of it. My other concern, and this is the biggest concern of the year, is mid-level. And this is something that's been talked about a lot recently, which is a really good thing. But what is mid-level going to look like in 2021? Well, this is where Ludi Diffs come into play. Let's say a lot of teams get kicked out of low ink because Ludi comes in and says, we think you're above Div 4 skill level. That's a good thing. Because when you hit all these teams that can't use the safety net of low ink to rely on for their monthly tournaments, and now they're stuck in limbo of like, oh, what do we do? We can't play in open tournaments because we're going to get eliminated in round 2 of losers. We can't play in these other tournaments that we've always been safe in, like Low Ink and Ash Cup, because Ludi says we're too good for that stuff now. And SAC's gone. Now what are we going to do? I think we're going to see more mid-level stuff start to pop off because there's going to be more teams floating around. The good thing about what mid-level is going to be in 2021 is it's going to be filled with more established veteran teams. Teams that grew up through the lower level, teams that have been around for 2+ years. Teams like West Broadway Grillers, Persistence, I don't think has been around for that long, but they're a team that's going to be one of the leaders in mid-level. Symphony, Destiny Troops. I'm probably forgetting a lot of key teams that are kind of established and been around. But these might not be the best teams in mid-level, but as we get more of these teams into a mid-level officially, I think we're going to start seeing some more things pop up, some more mid-level opportunities pop up, because and it's going to be driven by the mid-level, which is where it kind of needs to be. We don't need to wait for somebody to come in and save us. Please make tournaments for us. No, like I think we're going to get together and we're going to start making tournaments for ourselves, so that Midway doesn't have to carry everything. Xanadu's already talked about it. Xanadu's another team I should have mentioned. Luau might become one of those teams as well, like one of the leaders of the mid-level scene. So these teams are gonna, I think we're gonna see some more tournaments pop up from that, and that's a good thing. That's going to be a great reason why kicking teams out of low ink is going to benefit everybody, not just the lower level but the mid-level. And it's important because mid-level or lower level needs something to be excited about. I think winning low ink is a blessing and a curse. I think it can be really scary if you win a low ink and then you get that clout for like a month and people give you recognition, which you deserve, but then you just kind of fall off the face of the earth. And if anybody beats you in a tournament, all of a sudden it's like, yo, we beat a low ink champion. Yo, that means we're good, or it's something people will post on Twitter. If somebody gets a quad against you in a scrim, they're going to post it on Twitter. I got a quad against the low ink champion team. What up? So that's... That can be kind of annoying, but if we can start creating more opportunities for mid-level, then all of a sudden playing in low ink isn't something you do because you feel like it's all you got. You play in it because you want to get good enough through low ink to where you can leave it and go join the mid-level party in all of the great tournaments that are going on in there. Again, right now it's basically just Midway. I guess you could make the argument SAC is kind of mid-level maybe, but Midway is like the main thing we have right now, and that's just a seasonal thing. So those are my concerns. And I guess I should point out Saturday Night Splashdown tweeted out recently that they were interested in making mid-level tournaments if they were to come back. And you know what? Maybe we need like a mid-level podcast of some sort. It's not going to be me. I'll tell you that right now. First off, making a podcast for lower level is really easy right now because there's so many teams to talk about. There's literally too much to talk about in lower level. But secondly, mid-level podcast, my team is mid-level, so it would be weird to do like a recap. Oh, my match of this week was when Destiny Troops beat so and so. You know, like I'd spend most of the time talking about Destiny Troops, which would be really weird. So if and I don't want to point out every single time Luau beats me in a tournament, so that's not a fun thing to do either. So maybe somebody should make a mid-level podcast that can talk about things like this. Does the official SAC podcast count? Yes, I did watch the first episode of that. But you guys got to do it every single week for the entire year. You can't just do it during the SAC season. But yes, that content, I enjoy that content, and I feel like a lot of other people do as well. But that's enough recapping and talking about the future. I'm excited about the future. I feel like there's going to be a lot more opportunities, obviously, than what we had this past season or past year. And when I do the 75th episode of the Popcast at the end of 2021, I think what I'm going to be recapping is going to be so large that maybe I'll have to do a 2-episode thing to fit it all in rather than just say the first Low Inc had 50 teams. That's so weird to think. Low Inc had 50 teams in it. And the team that won, it was just probably just a pickup team that nobody even knew who they were. Luau Power Hour, just talking about beating Destiny Troops a few times. You know what? You know what I find really annoying? Battlefy does this thing where, like, it keeps, like, every time you log in, it tells you what your match, like, you have to go to this match, like, right now, like, for, like, the last week. So like we played you guys in High Inc and you guys beat us. So like for every time I signed into Battlefy for the next week, it kept saying, urgent, you need to go to this match. Like Battlefy just wanted to keep reminding me that we lost the Luau. Like thanks Battlefy. I forgot for 2 seconds. I was able to actually sleep last night. And then you reminded me. So now I'm not going to sleep tonight. Congratulations. Let's get to some award stuff. Splatoon is dying since the Splatfest doesn't have a new map. Well, I hate to break it to you, Paladin. Splatoon's been dead for 2 years. As you can see, clearly what I've been recapping, you can tell the Splatoon scene is just completely dead anyways. Let's get to the awards. Your nominations for several categories. Worst pickup team name, most wholesome team, most improved team, TOs of the year, best match, best captain, and team of the year. I'm going to give you my top 3 and honorable mentions of all of these categories. Let me explain how this process worked, though, for deciding who finished in what place. It was a combination of Twitter nominations, which you guys did last week, and a mixture of that with my own humble opinions. Take that with a grain of salt. I couldn't do like a poll of every single one of these things. I felt like that would have been too much Twitter nonsense. So there's some take this list for whatever did you think it is. I will say this though. Some of you suggested some really stupid things. So if you nominated something and didn't make this list, it's because I think you're an idiot. Crash GG. What are you guys talking about? Crash. Did I crash or did the screen go down or did we just? I don't get what that means. Anyways, somebody suggested for team of the year that Priority be the team of the year. Priority, I hate to break it to you, Priority's in the top 3 of the monthly Western Splatoon rankings. That disqualifies them from being the lower level team of the year. So whoever suggested Priority, spoiler alert, they're not the lower level team of the year. I'm sorry. But let's get into this. Let's get this out of the way first. Worst pickup team names of the year. Number 3. This might be a controversial one. But I'm coming right out and saying it. Thick Thigh Warriors is the 3rd worst pickup team name to come out this year. This team played in the Launch Point Draft Cup number 2. As I said, it's redundant. We all love Thick Thighs. There's no need to fight to save it because there's nobody attacking Thick Thighs. We get it. They're wonderful. We're moving on. Number 2. This team name is unreadable. It starts off with Hyper and then goes to Nervo, and then I think somebody bashed their forehead on the keyboard a few times to get in another 20 letters. I think the word vibrator shows up in there at some point. But it was like Hyper Nervo Spurbiner. This team finished 10th in Launch Point Draft Cup number 1. Unfortunately, though, I have no idea who they are because their team name was just absolutely horrible. You know, sometimes I give credit for teams for not trying. Just smashing the keyboard is the worst example of not trying. So, Hyper Nervo Vibrato, whatever your team name was, you're the second worst team name that I've seen in pickups. The number 1 worst team name, Nuts. This team won Beta Bracket in Low Inc. in November. And shout out to Gaysicle, who nominated his own team. Now, he wasn't the one to come up with this team name, but easily the worst team name of the year is Nuts. So there you go. And honestly, what's funny is that we actually forced them to censor it because what it used to be before that was pretty much the same thing, but it's just like, oh, well, I think it was like Nutty or something. And it was a picture of Patrick from SpongeBob clearly enjoying himself a little too much. And we're like, you need to change this. So they just changed it to something. Well, what if we do this? You know, it's the ultimate middle school example of like, mom said no, but what if dad thinks it's kind of funny? So Nuts, congratulations. This was the worst team name of the year. As far as pickups are concerned. Honorable mentions. Instead of doing another I hate your team name, my honorable mention is going to be my personal best team name of the year. And that goes out to this team from Launch Point Draft Cup number 2, My Little PogChamp. Congratulations, My Little PogChamp. I don't know why I like that so much. I just do. And as you're going to see, if I feel like it, I'm just going to put them there. Nothing you guys can do about it. Make your own podcast. Most wholesome team of the year. We're moving on. Number 3. Shiver Me Inklings. I have nothing to say about Shiver Me Inklings because I don't really know. I know they exist, but I don't know specifically what makes them wholesome. However, you guys do because they were nominated a lot. Nominated a whole heck of a lot by you guys. So that's really how this should be. If you guys feel like they're wholesome, even if I don't know who they are specifically, give them some credit for that. The selling point was Sir Skit said in a tweet that he subbed for them and they had good energy. So there you go. If you think Shiver Me Inklings doesn't deserve to be in the top 3 wholesome teams, argue with Sir Skit. I think he'd be ready to die for that. Number 2, Geek Squids. These guys were nominated a lot, and rightfully so. These guys, they never seem to complain about the tough losses that they take in tournaments. And they've taken some tough losses. They've been a team that's been around, they say, for 5 years. That would be from the beginning of Splatoon 1. But everybody loves some Geek Squids. They're always nice. They do a lot of drawings, too. I remember me and Devi from West Broadway Grillers commentated one of their sets um, in Swiss of Low Ink, like earlier in the year. And they made a drawing of us commentating their set like out of nowhere, and it was really cool. It was hilarious. I think I was confused by one of their amiibo headgears because I'd never seen it, and I thought it was like a Ninjala outfit or something. But Geek Squids, they're really cool, and they're nice people, at least from what I can tell. And you guys nominated them a lot as well, so congrats, Geek Squids, you're number 2. But the number 1 most wholesome team that I agree with, and the vast majority of you guys agree with as well, is Tooniverse. Ba-ba-da-da. He's only saying that because his wife's the captain of the team. Of course he'd say they're the most wholesome. First off, this was mostly nominated by you guys. All right? You guys think Tooniverse is wholesome. What have they done? Outside of making a lot of art, a lot of nice songs for everyone to enjoy, they also created a tournament. The Minnow Cup is the Tooniverse tournament. How about that? So, you talk about what does wholesome mean to you? I don't know. I would assume giving back to the community. I feel like Tooniverse gives back to the community more than any other team. So Tooniverse, the official Popcast wholesome team of the year. And yes, I share a bed with the captain. Get over it. Again, make your own podcast. You want to give it to somebody else. Jeez. Honorable mentions go out to Luau. I would put Luau in the top 3 of my personal thing, just because, but that's kind of biased because I spend a lot of time hanging out with those guys. But Luau's just really nice. I like Luau. They're all top to bottom. They got like 100 people that play for their team, but all 100 of them are really nice people. West Broadway Grillers, Symphony definitely deserves a shout out here in the wholesome category. Xanadu, Shrimp Chips got nominated a lot. A lot of people like some Shrimp Chips here. This team didn't get nominated because I think a lot of people forgot they existed because they were busy with finals and stuff. But Krill Streak deserves a nomination on this list as well. The Krill Streak's a very wholesome team, and we're going to see them come back. My sources tell me that they're going to be coming back for the next Low Ink now that they finished up their college schoolwork. Most improved teams of the year. Number 3, Geek Squids. Nominated by you guys, and this is one of the teams I had envisioned as well for the top 3. The first tournament these guys played in this year, as far as Low Ink is concerned, was the March Low Ink, where they went 3-3. They finished 24th out of 40 teams in that tournament. They have since gone on to not making top cut in March of Low Ink to being a consistent contender to make Alpha Bracket. Now, have they been making Alpha Bracket every single time they sign up? No. But making, as I pointed out last week, making Alpha Bracket is more difficult now than it ever has been in the past. But Geek Squids went from being a team that we all think is wholesome to a team we all are like, crap, we got to play against these guys. These guys are pretty good. I've said this 100 times, but it's true. They always play up to the skill level of the players or the team that they play against. And that has to do with their experience. I legitimately think there's no team that doesn't look at Geek Squids and think, oh, yes, good. This is a nice warm-up match for us. Geek Squids, the number 3 most improved team of the year. Number 2, you have to give this one to Surf and Turf. Look at what Surf and Turf did. I mentioned they played in January. How did they do in that January Low Ink? Oh boy, I bet they don't want me to point this out, but to show growth, you got to start off where you started and where you are now. Surf and Turf in the January Low Ink went 1-5. Oh no. There were 44 teams that played in the January low ink that actually finished. They finished 42nd. 2 spots from the very bottom of teams that finished in the January low ink. That's where Surf and Turf finished now. Now where's Surf and Turf? They're consistently getting 4-2 records in low ink. They were in Gamma Bracket last month, but they've been consistently in beta. They've been flirting with the idea of making Alpha Bracket. So if you look at like most improved from beginning to the end of the year, you could very easily make the argument that Surf and Turf is the number 1 improved team if it wasn't for the team I'm about to mention coming up. But Surf and Turf, they did get a few nominations from you guys, but this was mostly my input that bumped them up to number 2 because they are easily the most improved team of the year, in my opinion. However, the number 1 team of the year, most improved, heavily picked by you guys, and of course I got to agree with it. Inkling Technology at Purdue. These guys also played in the March low ink. In fact, this was their first ever low ink that they played in with Geek Squids. They went a very modest 2-4 in this tournament. 40 teams finished. They finished 29th in that tournament. They wouldn't even qualify for Gamma Bracket if it existed back in those days. But where is ITAP now? No, like, seriously, where are they? We haven't seen them in a couple of months. But where are they going to be when they come back in January, now that they got all their school crap kind of figured out? Well, take a look at what they've done. They won Gamma Bracket, right? They won Gamma Bracket in August. They followed that up by winning Beta Bracket in September. Then followed that up by making Alpha Bracket in October. So you look at it, a team that's gone from 2-4 to literally climbing the ladder every single month. If you were to chart ITAP's growth, it would literally be a straight line from the bottom straight up to the top. There's no dipping back down in that graph. So congratulations to ITAP, or if you say it backwards, Patty, for being the official Popcast most improved team of the year. Honorable mentions, I got 2, Tooniverse, he mentioned Tooniverse again, and the Wiggly Phantoms. I think the Wiggly Phantoms are going to be the surprise team of 2021. They used to be a team that just got completely stomped around in low ink. Now they're starting to get consistent 3-3s and making Gamma Bracket. Wiggly Phantoms, a team I think might take the spot for most improved team of 2021. We'll see on episode 25 of the podcast. TOs of the year. I think everyone and their mom knows who number 1 is going to be. But well, let's get through 3 through 2 first. First off, number 3. Parias. I think Parias definitely deserves a spot here. Not just because of his involvement with Ludi seeding, which I think he did a fantastic job on. Not just because of his involvement in Little Squid League, which once again is a very important tournament for the lower level community, but also for stepping up and being one of the few people, actually probably the only person, to do a top 100 ranking of lower level teams. I've been ranting against the importance of using Ludi divs for ranking, but one of the issues with the Splatoon top 60 is that it doesn't include lower level teams. Well, it does, but like Div 4 on down isn't going to show up on the top 60 rankings. So, of course, those teams are still going to use Ludi as a div. Well, Parias has made at least 3 or 4 over the course of this year, top 100 list of lower level teams. I think top 100 is too much, but the effort that Parias puts into the lower level community definitely deserves some recognition, and Parias is at the number 3 spot. Number 2, and this person was nominated a lot more by you guys, and I completely forgot to include this person, but definitely deserves a spot, is Nick, more so representing SAC into this. I forgot about it because I forgot about all the kind of issues that SAC had to deal with the past season and how the TOs really stepped up, and mainly Nick, which you guys nominated a lot here. Keep in mind this happened. SAC, in the middle of the season, the head TO just left. Like, I'm sure there's some behind the scenes stuff we didn't hear about, but from the public view, it looked like they just bounced in the middle of the season. So Nick steps up. On top of that, they were using Smash GG, and Smash GG went out of their way to screw over SAC every single tournament. They either just completely blew up the group seating, or just like drop sets or just change schedules at willy-nilly. It was, or just stopped working for like 30 minutes at a time and just stalled the entire tournament. So I feel like Nick coming in and handling these tough situations deserves some recognition, and I'm glad you guys nominated them, because that's a person I completely forgot about, but definitely deserves some recognition for what they do for SAC and for other organizations as well. I thought Good Guys Win was a really good tournament, and it was one of the first tournaments I saw that had a like they called it the Little Judd bracket, which was basically for teams that got knocked out in losers bracket round 1. So it's like there's still something for everybody. The lower level teams, there's a reason for lower level teams to sign up for Good Guys Win. Now Good Guys Win doesn't exist anymore, but the effort should still be pointed out and appreciated. So hats off to Nick for that one. The number 1 TO of the year goes to someone called JPG, or JPEG as most of us call him. What is JPEG known for? Dealing with all of you morons in help desk of Low Inc. all of you morons, including me. When I was in Low Inc, I asked some dumb questions as well. On top of that, being the head TO for Low Inc, also commentates for Low Inc. Also helps get all the meetings started, all the things behind the scene. Obviously, there's a good long list of people that help out with Low Inc. Hoenn, Kraken, the heads of IPL, Grace and Sky. All the stuff that Vincent does, it really really doesn't get a lot of recognition either. Like all the programs and bots that Vincent creates helps make a lot of Low Inc possible. And the list goes on and on. But the one person that you guys all nominated, and the person that I had in mind for this number 1 spot as well, as I should move this arrow down, is the one and only JPEG, your official Popcast TO of the year. Honorable mentions go out to the Ash Cup staff. I believe that is mostly led by Rocky of Nova. Ash Cup does a really good job, and they've improved over the course of the year. And Minnow Cup. Minnow Cup deserves honorable mention. They can't make the list because they only did one tournament, but in 2020. But definitely some recognition deserved in there as well. All right, let's get down to the nitty gritty here, the exciting stuff. You wouldn't have the patience to do what he does? Don't worry, he doesn't either. Nobody has the patience to deal with idiots. Promise me. I promise you. Best match of the year. Number 3. Omega suggested Geek Squids versus Splatter Swim in Swiss of Low Inc. You know the one I'm talking about. The one where Splatter Swim used Rainmaker, Skipper Pavilion. They used 3 Sploosh 7s and a Tri-Slosher Nouveau and won. Ultimately losing the set to Geek Squids. But that was, yes, that comp was really bizarre. and cool to see. But the actual number 3 match of the year has to be Geek Squids versus Splatter Swim in Little Squid League 5 Top Cut quarterfinals. This one had everything. It was the set that basically decided the whole tournament. Splatter Swim won and eventually won the whole tournament. But it also had, first off, I think it's a kind of a rivalry matchup. These teams played against each other a lot. Splatter Swim ultimately getting the better of Geek Squids in most of these matchups. So you got that. On top of all that, there's a little bit of lag controversy that exposed the depth of both teams. So I believe the story goes Splatter Swim wins game 1. Geek Squids win game 2 and 3 of a best of 5 set. So they're on the brink of knocking out Splatter Swim. But then lag complaints start coming in. Kid Crow for Geek Squids. Ultimately, the TOs decide that person needs to go. But on the flip side, Omega of Splatter Swim needs to go as well. So in the middle of the set, both teams had to lose a player due to lag complaints and had to bring in a player off of the bench to keep the set going. And Splatter Swim ultimately overcame those kind of issues and won the next 2 games to win the whole set 3-2. But a fantastic set to watch on stream that really exposed the depth chart on both teams. It was easily, I felt like that was the best match I saw on stream, but it deserves the number 3 spot on this list. Number 2. The question is, I can't put both ITAP matches on this list. Only one can make it. So the question is, which one is better? ITAP versus Access Denied for Gamma Bracket Finals, or ITAP versus Ink Dragon for Beta Bracket Finals the next month. Access Denied was making the argument that their match was better. Ink Dragons made the argument that their match was better. I went back and forth on this one to try to figure out which was better. The first win, Gamma Bracket win for ITAP, which was their first like tournament trophy that they got, or the beta one that they got the next month. And ultimately, I decided, and mainly it was Gaysicle who's nominated this one as well that kind of won me over. It's like, well, if ITAP thinks this one is better, then let's go with that. ITAP versus Inked Dragons, the beta bracket September finals. The thing that won me over on this one had to come down to the fact that Game 7 of the bracket reset actually happened, which is something we didn't see a lot. So the whole tournament of beta came down to that final game. And a lot of us saw it because IPL rated Mizuno during this set. So about 100 plus people saw this match live. And I think it was Rainmaker on main stage, and ITAP just got the last push they needed in like the last 30 seconds or so and won all the beta bracket. So match of the year, number 2, ITAP versus Ink Dragons. The number 1 best match of the year. And nobody nominated this, but I don't care. This is the match of the year. Avalanche versus West Broadway Grillers. The July Low Ink Alpha Bracket Finals. Why do I think this is the best match of the year? It's not because of the first set that these teams played in grand finals that the West Broadway Grillers won 4-1. It's the set that followed afterwards, the bracket reset that went all the way to the Game 7. The only low ink Game 7 that we saw in Alpha Bracket / Top Cut this year. One of the reasons why it went to Game 7, Avalanche changed up their comp. After getting stomped by West Broadway Grillers in the first set, they switched their comp. I believe it was Amir who switched from using H3 to Squeezer, and that completely changed the whole set. Add in a little bit of controversy, a host DC in the middle of a set. that forced the set to be that forced a game to be redone, even though it looked like Avalanche was on their way to winning that one. Instead, West Broadway Grillers came back and won the replayed match or game. You had the game 6, Rainmaker at Mako Mart, where the West Broadway Grillers looked like they were going to win the whole tournament, and all of a sudden they get wiped at the very end of overtime, and Avalanche picks up the Rainmaker and goes just far enough to get lead, blowing everybody's mind and forcing a game 7, which came down to Clam Blitz at Skipper Pavilion, a back and forth set. Both teams held leads, I think, at 2 points over the course of that match, and the Grillers ultimately came out on top. The best match of the year, July Alpha Bracket Finals, Avalanche versus West Broadway Grillers. Congratulations to those two teams for putting on quite a show. Honorable mentions, Splat Force versus Symphony, winner quarterfinals of Gamma Bracket Low Inc. December. Valhalla versus Luau. A lot of you guys nominated this one. This was the Ash Cup 6 finals that went to a game 7. I felt like Luau versus Valhalla, those teams are, I don't consider either one of those teams lower level anymore. I will talk about them later on, spoiler alert, but I felt like for as far as game of the year, it'd be better to focus on the lower level teams for this one. Outcast Ninjas versus Toxic Haze. This was the Low Inc. Gamma Finals of November. This one also went to a game 7, but Toxic Haze being a new team at the time, and Outcast Ninjas are not a new team. Definitely a good set for them as well. This was a good set. I just don't feel like it's top 3 of the year worthy. All right. We are running out of time, so let's get this going here. Captains of the year. As a captain myself of a team for 2+ years, I understand how frustrating and annoying and aggravating it is to deal with people. So my heart goes out to these people I'm about to mention. Number 3, captain of the year. I don't think it's fair to have the most improved team of the year on this list without giving some credit to the captain of this team, Mizuno of ITAPT. Keep in mind what Mizuno has to deal with. Only 4 players are on ITAP. That by itself is crazy that you can find time to organize 4 people on your team to get practice in and do tournaments. Keep in mind, these are all college kids as well, so they all have other obligations outside of just wanting to practice and grow for Splatoon. And lastly, I have listened to the VC of ITAP several times. The players that Mizuno has to deal with, while being very talented players, are all morons. And I think we would all agree with that statement. So Mizuno having to put up with all of this stuff and taking just 4 players and growing them over the course of an entire year is insane. Absolutely insane. So number 3, the fact that I have this person at number 3 shows you how strong number 2 and number 1 are. But definitely credit to Mizuno of ITAP. Number 2. This person created not just 1, but 2 teams that dominated Low Inc. And that would be Wug, formerly of Revitalize and currently of Valhalla. Now, Wug was nominated by a lot of you guys, and rightfully so. Not just because of what they've accomplished in these tournaments, but what they also do. Wug is also a wholesome person, gives back to the community, and is somebody who is helping all of us kind of grow. Definitely somebody that you all root for as well. Now, Revitalize and Valhalla, they came close They always came close to winning low ink, and I feel like a lot of people were rooting for them to win low ink, and it just never happened. They always ran into the right monster. BRK, man, give them credit for what they did. They were the only team to take down Valhalla in that tournament. Now I feel like they just had the right comp to do it, to finally crack that turtle shell Valhalla did. But for getting so close so many times and never getting discouraged and always continuing to push their team to grow and to be a beacon of brightness in our community as a whole, Wug is the number 2 captain of the year. Number 1. And this person is who I originally had in mind to be the official captain of the year, and all of your nominations that came in justified this. Give me Stormy of Persistence. Look at what Persistence dealt with this year. I'm not just talking about all the roster changes that they had to overcome. And I'm not just talking about all the heartbreak, all the times they came so close to winning low ink and just couldn't seal the deal. But there was a situation that happened over the summer. One of their players, I guess I shouldn't talk about this in detail, but I think we all kind of know what happened here. One of their players basically had a situation come up to where that player needed to be kicked off of their team. And Stormy of Persistence did not hesitate. Once this information was brought to their light, they basically self-reported themselves. They said, hey, we have a player on our team that is doing this, and we are kicking them off, and we are shaming this player. So many opportunities have happened in this community this year where teams or players or streamers or whoever straight up failed in dealing with controversy and issues within their community or their team. Stormy for Persistence did not hesitate in doing the right thing, kicking out that player and publicly shaming them, ultimately getting them banned by the Splatoon Safety Code of Conduct. So for all of these situations combined, I feel like Stormy set not just captain of the year, but was really a leader of the year for the lower level community with how they handled that situation. They didn't hesitate. They showed us how to deal with those kinds of situations. So the official Popcast captain of the year, in my opinion and your guys' opinion, goes to Stormy of Persistence. Honorable mentions, Parias from Splatforce. Somebody nominated Avril, who is not the captain of Splatforce. Bowen of Geek Squids. Liz from Labyrinth X. And Miss Popgun of Tooniverse. You guys nominated her, not me. Don't point that on me. I'm not just going to mention her for everything. All right. I'm out of water. That's fine. Team. The last one. Team of the year. Let's get the honorable mentions out of the way. Valhalla and Revitalize, ITAP, and Xanadu. I feel like these teams all deserve some sort of recognition for the accomplishments they pulled off over the course of this year. Valhalla, being a new team, only played in 3 lower level tournaments. Did enough in those 3 lower level tournaments to capture our attention and deserve some recognition. But let's get into it. Number 3. Give me Persistence, the team I just talked about. A lot of the reason why Stormy is my captain of the year, Persistence is pretty doggone good. They finished second in a lot of tournaments, though. Their biggest win coming in Clan Clash number 4, where they won that tournament, which you would think isn't something to be proud of considering all the other tournaments that they played in. But look at the team they beat. They beat Supa, a team that's banned from low ink for being too good and has quite a resume in the lower level community themselves. So that's a legitimate win for them. Not to mention their second place finish in Ink Cup, second place finish in the unnamed tournaments. Their 2 silver medals in low ink that they garnished this year. I believe they got ranked in the SAC top 20, and to cap it all off, they were one of two teams in Low Ink history to have a perfect Saturday 18-0, the other team being Valhalla. So persistence, they're the team that has the biggest target on their back in every single low ink they play in. Their biggest opponent is themselves. They either have a player get locked out of their house, unfortunately, or needing to get a sub in the middle of a set. But persistence, my number 3 team of the year, and yours as well. A lot of people nominated them. Number 2, the team you guys mostly nominated, and I think deserves a spot on this list, even though they are far from being a lower level team anymore, goes to Luau. Now, like Valhalla, Luau only played in 3 lower level tournaments before they eventually got kicked out. But the reason I'm nominating them is because I feel like from the teams to come from Low Ink this year, Luau is the best team to come from Low Ink. So they won Ash Cup 6, escaping Valhalla in the grand finals there. They won August Low Ink, taking down Last Chance, a very strong team. And I guess you could just throw in the fact that they won, or they got beta bracket runners up the month before they won in July. So those are the only 3 lower level tournaments they played in, but they also played in High Ink, and this is why I think they're the best team to come from Low Ink this year. They finished 3rd in High Ink, beating teams like Destiny Troops, and falling just shy from Priority and Stargaze. So if you look at teams, is Luau a low level team? No, they're not anymore. But I feel like their accomplishments are good enough, and I feel like they're the best team to come from lower level this year. So the number 2 spot on this list goes to Luau. My number 1, the official Popcast team of the year. It's weird. Let me tell you guys a little story. Over the summer and fall season, when I started doing this podcast, there was one team I basically talked about all the time. And it's funny because I do these on Monday, but Sundays are when I mow my yard. And when I'm mowing my yard is when I'm really writing the podcast in my head. Like I'm basically talking through what I'm going to say on the podcast while I'm mowing the yard. So it's weird to think about that basically every time I was mowing my yard this year, I was thinking about Splatter Swim because they really accomplished something literally every single week that deserved me giving attention and talking about it. They won Little Squid League 5. Again, this was before Little Squid League rebranded itself, but still a nice win for anybody's resume. They won the Xanadu Tournament Series number 2. And they won Beta Bracket in June, the first time we ever had a Beta Bracket. On top of all of that, those medals alone are pretty impressive for a team to have. But the cherry on top, winning October Low Ink, doing it as one of the only teams to ever go undefeated per matches in Low Ink. Only 3 teams accomplished that this year. The team that won in January, Collapsia, and Splatter Swim. The only team in the 2-day era to go undefeated per matches was Splatter Swim. Of course, they disbanded. They're no more. They're not going to be the team of the year in 2021, obviously. But if we just look back at all the lower level tournaments, start to finish, the very bottom to the very top, and we look at this year alone, the team that capitalizes or that kind of captures everything that is lower level Splatoon in the year 2020 is Splat or Swim. So sauce it up. And no, I'm not just giving them credit because I forgot to mention them in the preview before they won the Low Ink. No, I'm not trying to make up for that. They're legit the team of the year. Or were the team of the year before they disbanded. And that ends the 25th episode of the Popcast. Can you believe I've been doing this for 25 episodes? That's crazy. That is crazy. I never thought, well, 25 isn't a huge number, but I didn't think it'd be getting this far. So that's a credit to you guys. So thank you for all the people watching and on Twitch or YouTube or following or subscribing or whatever that it is that you guys do to support this production. And hopefully this will be going on all the way through 2021, and we'll do this again next year. I'm not going to have 100 episodes done by the end of next year. That seems like a tall order. And I'm sure at some point I'll just take a whole week off and do nothing. But thank you for you guys for all the support that you've shown through the first 25 episodes. Episode 26 is going to be next week. We're going to get back to talking about actual tournaments. We're going to be recapping Minnow Cup and Little Squid League. So a lot of stuff going on there. I might also preview a little bit SAC. In fact, a good chunk of January is just going to be me recapping tournaments. Excuse me. So for those of you who like the more recappy episodes instead of the me yelling at you, ranting kind of episodes, we're going to do that. If you would like to be a part of the podcast in any way, maybe you're a team that you would like to be interviewed, because I need to get back to doing more stuff like that. Feel free to reach out to me on my socials that are below. Twitter at Mr_Popgun. Discord at Popgun, #5882. YouTube at 25Popgun. And Twitch at Popgun25. We are going to raid fish. Make sure that you guys are wearing your masks. We're almost out of this. At least that's what they tell us. Keep wearing a mask. Make sure it covers your nose. Please. And thank you.